Man, it's just a test live, dog. I need to see what's going on my YouTube. It seemed like the vibrations were very high when I was doing lives every 4 days, 3 or 4 days. But it seemed like, man, now that I'm just doing one day, I don't know, man. The lives ain't live in the way they used to. So I'm just checking the time, reacclimating thing. I'm trying out hashtags, just different stuff. So this is some real intimate, technical uh analysis I'm running on the channel. But I am gonna talk. I just chose this time to just think, have a discussion about something that I do feel like has been something I've wanted to discuss has come up as far as the black men Democrats, black male Democrats, and how I feel like there isn't any real black man representation over in the Democratic Party. But again, this is also a test. I want to see, if this is a good time on Sunday, man. Typically in the morning, hey, it be going down. I think as far as like black men Democrats, male Democrats, I feel like I'm hearing them mimic the same things that the liberal party talks about all the time. I feel like at the end of the day, they're saying this, they're living in an echo chamber too. And I think that's why most men, especially when we talk about heterosexual males, they are leaning more towards the right because um, I think what you find on that side is people that aren't opposed to tension or confrontation in some kind of way to get their points across and to get what they believe in done. They don't really mind. And I think a lot of the conservative ideology is that it's like they do not mind having tension on what they believe in. I think versus on the liberal side, I think there's a lot of, well, you know, we'll just go along with it. Or they don't want to offend anybody. There's not, to me, there's people on like the left that just, they will be, they're worried about offending folks. I'm not worried about offending anybody if I'm spilling the truth. I'm gonna go with the truth is. Um I'm loyal to the truth at the end of the day. That's the only thing I'm really loyal to. And I get that from my boy Rob J 10X, you know what I'm saying, on the show. I'm loyal to the truth. So for that, if I'm telling you the truth and I'm spilling something that I think is accurate, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you're offended in my book. I don't care if you're offended at the end of the day because you have to deal with what do you feel like is offensive when somebody's telling you the real truth about how things are. So on the liberal side, if we talk about, you know, the trans movement and how that's an issue, they can't leave that off the table. It's like they will they will spit the same rhetoric because in that neoliberal movement, at the end of the day, in that neoliberal movement, hey bro, why y'all in here trolling? Just go somewhere else, dog. This ain't. I'm gonna mute you, man. Y'all be so weird. Y'all ain't got nothing else to do. It's a real conversation. You ain't even got to be here for the conversation, man. Just get out of here. I'm gonna get you out of here. I ain't seen my mods. My mods ain't been around. But at the end of the day, just get out of here. If you want to troll, bro, I'm gonna just do. I gotta wait for all the trolls to get out of here. That's soft too. I think that's weird. I think it's weird to come in here and do that. Are y'all kids or something, dog? I think that's the silliest thing on the planet. But anyways, when I think about the other side, I feel like when it's the men on the other side, are soft in the sense that they don't want any confrontation. They're not willing to go against the grain. So you mean all Democrat males, all Democratic men believe in what the neoliberal ideology is? Like every single black man? I just find that to be kind of odd. So like when I see the DL Hugleys, when I see Roland Martin to an extent, or all those black males who are supporting the Democratic Party, is like, okay, do you really support all of that in its entirety though? So you support all that in its entirety. Um, you don't mind the trans movement. You don't mind the LGBT movement being the way it is. Are you even trying to address like black community issues? Do you not see how that like is offensive to the family? We have a family crisis, so you don't care about none of that. Whereas a conservative, no matter what race they are, at the end of the day, they'll say, okay, we believe in certain the baseline of these things. We believe that that's why you can see a lot of men, heterosexual men, go that way and be like, okay, I'm willing to take my chance over here because this is something that is appealing to me. Versus, the other side, it's not like that at all. That's not happening at any time. That's not happening. It's like you have to believe in everything that the Liberal Party is talking about in its entirety, even if it puts your community in jeopardy. So what I'm asking is, where are the stiff dudes over in the Democratic Party that are black? Where are they? Where like we see the demographic, we see their demographic as um the ones that are talking up. Make sure this going on. We see their demographic. They're the ones that's up there talking the most. There's no brothers up there talking. There's absolutely no brothers up there talking for the black man in the community. I just don't see it at all. And that's important to me. So that's how you can lose an entire demographic. Because in our community, we are the people that need to be lifted up. Or black men. Black men need to be lifted up because they need to be running the community. If we're gonna save families, we gotta put the black men back into the community again. If you gonna say the community, you gotta make those men great again. Period. You gotta go deal with the man. We gotta deal with again family crisis, gentrification. You know what I'm saying? Economic disparity. But we have to deal with that. So politically, who over on their side is gonna address that? That's what I think. Again, specifically, our people need to just be agenda oriented. You got to be agenda oriented. You can't sit up here and vote with just everybody and go along with it because that's popular. That's the one thing again I hate, or I shouldn't even say hate. Hold up, let me put my headphones. Coming through. That's the one thing that I hate about. I don't want to say hate. It's the one thing I have a big issue with in our community. It's the one thing that I have a real big issue with in our community because we are so misinformed. We're so misinformed that we don't mind being a part of bad politics when somebody's appealing to how we feel. I believe that. Like we're a terribly misinformed group of people. And so what we allow is people to take advantage of us through these different groups and different organizations. It happens all the time. We let these people take advantage of us, how we feel, and telling us how we should vote. And it's like every time you go behind the scenes and you look at where this money is going, whether it was Black Lives Matter, even in this USA thing, it's going out to some type of LGBT movement. Why? I'm just asking why. Like, what else? To me personally, I definitely think it's a lot of money laundering going on with that. I mean, it's gotta, that makes the most sense. Because why do we need these different organizations for that movement unless there's not a level of conditioning in it? Because bro, we talking about somebody's sexual orientation.
So that much money is leaving Black Lives Matter. That much money is leaving U.S. aid to go support those efforts for what? I'm just saying we have, because when we start talking about, okay, when you start talking about like the civil rights movement and what it was supposed to give to black people, there were not there the programs that were available essentially wasn't just exclusive to us. They were exclusive to a broad band of people. That's how we kind of, well, that's how we're in the situation we're in right now. So how is it that if this is something that you're saying is a civil rights issue, and how you have any legislation anyway, why do y'all need all those programs for these different groups? If we all have a blanket right to work, if it was supposed to be a meritocracy, whatever the case may be, why does all this money have to go out to these other organizations? And that's what I want to hear Jasmine Crockett say. That's what I want to hear the politicians get up here. I think when we're voting them in, we got to start thinking about that. Like, hey, we've played the political game long enough. We know how the money goes. To be totally honest, I don't care if they getting rich. Just do right by your people. Do right by your people, and then don't be telling us something is wrong or inside trading, and because that shit is wrong. You shouldn't be doing it, but they're doing it. You can't tell me. This is my issue with, like, and we talked about this on the last live. Like, my issue is, if you're a rich politician, you're a rich congressperson, and you may be coming up with legislation that could benefit your business partners. Like, we are getting into wild territory, because what kind of practices do these business partners have? What are they invested in? How do they hire? I'm just saying, so we have, I think we should question that, by far. But at the same time, I think you just have to ensure that you're doing right by the people. As long as you're doing right by the people, that's what makes the most sense. I said this one time. I think I said this earlier today. Like, if you look at all the money that they gave. Okay, I don't want to have that they don't got the money for reparations thing no more. I really don't want to hear that. I've heard Yvette Cornell talk about this, and she said that they could allocate these funds. But when you think about it, and you look at all that money in USA that they spent and that they put out to different organizations, you can't tell me that they couldn't have paid reparations by now. It just, you cannot tell me that they could not have done something for a community that, whether it's our responsibility or not right now, which it is as a community, it's our responsibility to get ourselves out of the hole. I mean, we were placed there. We were placed where we were. Like, that's the only thing. Okay, like, I can be against the anti. Like, I don't like identity politics. I don't like that. I'm not into uh, a lot of the victimization, victimhood, and all that. But when we start talking about, like, real racism and oppression, it did exist, and it did have a result. So we can't deny that. Like, I'm never gonna sit up here and deny what happened to black people in this country. It just, we talking about from slavery into Jim Crow. There's certain guys that get up and I've never experienced racism. Like, what's that dude named Reed? Something Reed, I forgot his name. I grew up with white friends, and they treated me just like them. Like, when you think about the entire group of black people in this country, that's far and few between. Like, that's not the average story, because many of us live in a world of segregation. Like, certain people, depending on who you are or who you were as a black person in America, money does matter too. You have groups of black people that have had money, that have been able to live in situations where they could be closely around other groups of people. And a lot of times we took that as them being Uncle Toms, or we took that as them being uppity, or whatever the case may be, but they were just around a different group of people. And a lot of times they didn't want to associate with blackness per se, because blackness is considered to be lower class. Because most of the black people, most of us have some inner city or urban connection. I think more of us are like that to average versus those of us that have an enormous amount of money, because it's just a small group in the world anyway that has that. But for many of us, we never had any multicultural interaction. Like I wasn't around white people until I went to the Navy. For the most part, what gave me culture was having a father. I got my father, and I was able to. I looked at Fox and CNN as a kid. I was very aware of what politics was as a young guy. So I think that helped me be cultured and understand how to talk to other groups of people about looking at the news. Being in, media is multicultural. It's always been that way. But if you're not tuned into that and you're just growing up in the inner city, the chances of you even interacting with other people, even white people, is probably going to be slim. So for the bulk of us, we don't know what that interaction looks like. And all we've seen, like in my neighborhood, it was two white cops that patrolled. And then, you do have to factor in a lot of black people don't want to be cops because it was, at least then, because I never joined the police. That's the most ignorant thing to say. That's something I don't agree with. I don't want to be a police officer. We would rather go be thugs, gangsters, and rappers than go be policemen. So I definitely don't agree with that ideology. But at the same time, you gotta look at the times I was growing up in. It's the '90s. So in the '90s, we talking about the crack era. It was the drug dealers getting praised at this moment. He's cool. It's cool to be the drug dealer. It's cool to be a hustler. So 9 times out of 10, the people that's patrolling your neighborhood are white cops. And if you've grown up to think, hear, see how white people have behaved around black people, then you're gonna automatically assume that this white man in a uniform has a propensity to be racist, even if he's not. And on the flip side, this white cop that's coming into this neighborhood, he has a perception of what he's going in there to deal with. So guess how he's gonna respond in a situation? He's gonna think I'm dealing with some aggressive folk. The raw, uncut truth is on both sides of these perceptions, it's some reality in both of them. It's some truth in both of them. There can be some racism in this white cop as much as there can be some over aggressiveness and belligerence and debauchery in this black dude right here. All things can be true. Two things can be true. It's not saying that they're different truths. It's true. These are the things that's true. It's how do we handle that and navigate that. But what I'm saying is, at the end of the day, most black people hadn't had a strong interaction, so it's easy to get black people to believe that everything is racist. It's the easiest thing to do, especially if they've had bad dealings with a certain type of white person. Then they're going to believe that, hey, all white people. I used to hear that all white people aren't racist. All white people aren't racist. All white people ain't prejudiced. No different than all black men ain't thugs. All black men. You see where I'm going with that? It's the same on both sides, the negative and the positive. But it's easy to sell black people identity politics because at the end of the day, if that's been your experience, then you're going to respond based off of that experience. So we just assume it's bad. Man, I've had experiences with white police officers in my neighborhood that I'll say they were definitely weird. There was definitely a tinge of racism to it, for sure. But I also want to add that every instance that I had with a police officer, I did what they asked me to do. Not in a you can step on me and do whatever you want to me. It was, I'm respectful. Yes, sir. No, sir. I'm ready for him to leave and I'm trying to leave. And then, that's before the cell phone era. So you can't just get on your cell phone and, you know, you can't just get on your cell phone and tape your interaction with a police officer in the 90s. So anything really could have happened to us. So I think we had a certain ideology in how to deal with police officers that a lot of our men just don't have. The black schema has a lot to do. The black male schema has a lot to do with toughness. That's why we praise gangsters. Gangsters in our community, gangsters, dope dealers, represent a form of masculinity because there is a level of masculinity you have to do those things. My bad. Let's see, make sure my camera ain't off. All right, my bad, my bad. There is a level of masculinity you have to have in doing those things. But see, this kind of goes back to what I'm talking about when I say there are no black men in the Democratic Party. How many black men in the Democratic Party can talk to us and understand what the culture is really like and represent that demographic that you got to lift up and lead that community? Black men need to be leaders in the community. Black men don't need to be participating in things that destroy the community. It's just what it is. Like the ideology of black men politically have to change. The ideology of black men has to change. Period. Point blank. Black men cannot afford to cower anymore and not recognize what's going on in our community and what the different levels of crisis that we have. And we can't just be sitting up here. Um, we can't just be sitting up here doing things because our women want us to do it too. That's another thing that's crazy that we gotta be careful with. Like doing things because our women putting our women in such high regard that we don't do what we need to do as men. This is why I also said this too. Is like, to be totally honest, the relationship conversation is necessary. Um, the relationship conversation is necessary, but the relationship conversation isn't the see all be all for our community because the one group that you got to lift up is the man. That's the one group that you got to lift up is the man. And so defining masculinity and what does it look like? I don't think it should be that soft. It's soft over there on that other side, man. It's soft on the other side. Like I just can't I just can't fathom how many men actually go and support the Democratic Party to the extent in which they do. I just can't understand it. And then again, I also don't just see any real representation over there. So why would I vote? How are you going to get me in as a voter? Do you care? Do you want me to vote? Do you want me to come in and come over to that side at any point if you're trying to get me? Because I don't like what you're doing at all. So whatever Donald Trump is on, it's like it's not bad enough. To me, in my opinion. It ain't bad. It ain't so bad and egregious to the point to where I'm just ready to go vote Democrat. Because then again, like I said again, who's over there? Who is on the Democratic side? Who's on the Democratic side? Like who over there? Who represents the party well as a man? I'm just trying to, like, I'm scratching my head on this. I'm trying to figure this out, but it's like why would I even go over there? What are they saying to me, by the way? That's appealing to me. And then y'all got, again, y'all have these women are doing all the talking. It seems like, you mean Jasmine Crockett? That's the leader of the party, bro. Jasmine Crockett is the leader of the Democratic Party. How is Jasmine Crockett the leader of the party? And we don't really even know what she's done. I don't know what she's done as far as a politician goes. Like, what?